And I've made it a personal goal of mine to attempt to watch 30 horror movies this month. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know if that means that I will do a review for all 30 of the movies. So if you're not following me on Letterboxd, please do so. You can simply type in Her Real Review because I am Her Real Review on pretty much every social media platform. And you can read some of my movies that I am logging this month. And so today I wanted to talk about the second movie that I have watched in October. I know that this review is a little late. I apologize, but I was pre-gaming for my birthday, which is coming up. How lucky for me to also be born during this spooky month. And that movie is From Dusk Till Dawn. Now, shockingly, I have never seen From Dusk Till Dawn. And I say that that's surprising because my favorite movie thus far this year is Ryan Coogler's Sinners, which we know was influenced by From Dusk Till Dawn. And I have no qualms in saying that because Ryan Coogler has said that. And so despite people wanting to rah-rah and get kind of upset that a filmmaker shockingly was influenced by the films that he watched as a younger man, doesn't mean that he's copying those films and that he's not moving the needle forward. And so I wanted to watch this movie, but I'm going to be honest. The thing that kept me from watching this movie for so long is Quentin Tarantino. Now, if you've been on my channel for a while, you've heard me talk about that Quentin Tarantino is someone that I don't love his work. He is giving very much, white male gaze in a lot of his films, in my personal opinion. With the exception of the Kill Bill films, I've never just sat down and enjoyed watching his films. I've attempted to. I've watched most of his films with the exception of this one that he was involved with, which is not really a Tarantino film, but we'll get to that. And I just haven't enjoyed the watching of most of them. There have been moments that I like, but the film overall just kind of felt stale to me. I don't like the way that he so aggressively uses the N-word in a lot of his films. I don't like the way that he handles the stereotypes and creates kind of caricatures for his characters instead of kind of bursting open that bubble and exposing, the stereotypes for what they are, but then turning them on their face. I just think he's not doing anything really super creative. He himself is kind of doing something that is a homage, if you will, to the 1970s, late 60s and 70s blaxploitation era of cinema, with a lot of heavy homages to the influx of martial arts films that came out during that time. And you see that in the gratuitous violence and the gratuitous sex and also the language in his films, which is very heavy-hitting and aggressive. Now, I'm willing to tip my hat to him and say that he does dialogue writing well. It's very fast-paced and quick-witted, and so I think a lot of people enjoy that bantery aspect of it, but I don't know, it's just never been my thing. And you know that I'm a really big proponent on my channel for not reviewing things that I know I'm not going to be a fan of because I feel as though I don't have enough bandwidth or expertise or background knowledge to give them a fair shake. So I just don't. And I would encourage more people to do that. I think it's one thing to get on the internet and say, hey, I watched this film, I didn't enjoy it. But to be able to critique something and proclaim it bad or the best, I think you need to have a breadth of knowledge. So you won't ever hear me do that. And that will probably be to the detriment of my channel because I'm not going to do anything for shock value. Just not going to ever rage bait anyone. So I sat down to give From Dusk Till Dawn a fair chance. Now, From Dusk Till Dawn is not directed by Quentin Tarantino. It's directed by Robert Rodriguez, and Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino are contemporaries. They definitely have done a lot of films together. Much like Sinners, From Dusk Till Dawn centers on two brothers and they're criminals, and those two brothers stumble their way. This is not like Sinners. They end up at a night joint filled with dancing and music and good times, sinful times, and they encounter demons of the night, aka vampires. And that is pretty much where the similarities start and stop with these two movies. In this film, we meet these two brothers, and they are criminal bank robbers. One of them, played by Quentin Tarantino, is also a sexual assaulter. He has sexually assaulted several women. And the other one kind of has a seemingly somewhat ethical code, but is kind of just placating his brother. And they are holding up a gas station. And then from there, they end up meeting up with this family, with a former preacher, his daughter and son. And they take them hostage as they try to escape the law and make their way into Mexico. You have George Clooney playing the character of Seth Gecko, and Quentin Tarantino playing the character of Richard Gecko. And they encounter Harvey Keitel, who plays Jacob Fuller, his daughter played by Juliette Lewis, and then his son played by Ernest Liu. And from there, they try to make their way to Mexico, and they stumble upon this nightclub. It ends up being overrun with vampires. That is the premise of the movie. If I could turn my brain off from ethical behavior and human decency, I might have been able to enjoy this film a bit better. And so the rest of this will contain some spoilers as I tell you why I did not like From Dusk Till Dawn, but I never want to yuck someone else's yum. But for me, as a person who thoroughly enjoys B movies, and this was an homage to the B movie, it's a no for me. Okay, here's why. So this is where I will give spoilers. So we follow Richie and Seth as they hold up this gas station alcohol store, and they take these two girls hostage. They end up killing everybody basically. The girls get away though, I think. And we find out that Richie has been raping girls, and it's all Seth can do to keep him from like keeping it in his pants and not doing anything else more violent. They go to this hotel, they take one of the maids hostage, and Richie is not able to keep it in his pants, and he ends up killing the woman and raping her. And then they encounter this family, and we have Jacob Fuller, played by Harvey Keitel. I can't speak today. And he is a former preacher, and he's taking his kids on a road trip. His wife has died, and he's just doing some fatherly bonding as he's having this crisis of faith. When they encounter Seth and Richie, Richie is salivating at this girl whose age we are not told at this point. Juliette Lewis is playing a character that is anywhere from 16 to 20. Because by her own admission later on in the film, she says she's not quite 21. And the first time that we encounter her, she's in a bathing suit, and Quentin Tarantino is like looking her up and down, like he wants to devour her, staring at her feet, and he imagines her asking him to eat her cat. And with the exception of his brother, who kind of like, taps him on the shoulder and says, yeah, let's not do that, there's never really any repercussions for this behavior. And so what we get is at least two more scenes of, Robert Rodriguez indulging Quentin Tarantino's weird foot fetish. And at some point, like, can we just not have the gaze of the camera salivating very uncomfortably over this young girl? And I can't speak for the male members of the audience, but I know that for me being a woman, I was thoroughly creeped out, and I was waiting for this man to die the entire rest of the film. I really wanted her father to kill him immediately. They make it to Mexico, where they go to this bar. What is the bar called? It's like called the Titty something. The Titty Twister. Okay, Quentin. Again, I feel like, is this Robert? Is this Quentin? I don't know. I know in Kill Bill we had the Pussy Wagon. Now we got the Titty Twister. Like, what is happening with this? Excuse the language. It's in the film. I have to say that that's what it's called. There we get a dance by the very beautiful Salma Hayek. Again, another foot fetish scene where she gyrates in front of Quentin Tarantino's character, pours champagne down her legs so that he can suck her toes. And then the vampires come. and then everyone pretty much is killed. And at the end of it, we get George Clooney's character still alive, Juliette Lewis's character still alive. Her whole family is gone, and she's basically abandoned by the only person who she knows in this country, because she's been kidnapped and brought across state lines. Now, this is not a full recap of the movie, because I definitely don't want to stop anyone from watching it if they so desire. But if it did not focus quite so heavily on indulging in Quentin Tarantino's weird foot fetish, I think I might have been able to enjoy it, because listen, there is some amazing creature work here on these vampires, and I believe they were done by Tom Savini, who is amazing, who is a master act in the genre. It's been doing this for forever. But it was just really hard for me to take off my woman, mom, daughter sensibilities to enjoy that aspect of the film. It also feels like two completely separate films, with the heist aspect of it in the first half, and then the creature survival film in the second half. And I think if this had just been like a weird hodgepodge of characters that somehow managed to make it to this place without it being Quentin Tarantino's character Richie involved, and we still got those same characters, I could have enjoyed it. But for the storytelling in the first half, I could have enjoyed it. So this film, the fact that people, like, obviously, yes, Ryan was inspired by some aspects, not all. I don't think it was all, because Ryan went a step further to really give the cultural nuances of the backstories and the allegory. And if by now you don't understand the meaning of Sinners and what it really represents, I don't know what to tell you. But you hate to compare two films, but the fact that people somehow think that this is somehow better than Sinners, I don't understand it. I don't understand it whatsoever. This felt highly derivative. I was very upset that George Clooney was anywhere near this film. That poor Juliette Lewis and her young baby face self was in here. We had poor Ernest Liu playing a caricature, basically, where it's basically like they just threw an Asian kid in here just so they couldn't get some jokes about the fact that he's Japanese, no, he's Chinese. So that was my viewing of From Dusk Till Dawn, a movie that I will give a 1.5 out of 5 stars, or I'm giving it a D. It's a D, and I'm so sorry. And I wanted to like it. I did. There were moments where I was like, oh, that's a funny piece of dialogue there. Character work, creature work, phenomenal. But I can't get past the story in this film. But maybe you can convince me that it's better than what I think it is in the comments. Please let me know. Be kind. Listen, I will never yuck your yum. If you like it, I love it. But for me, it's a no. But I'll see you guys next time, because I'll be talking about Poltergeist. Toodles.